everyone, and welcome back to Nine Talks Boxing. Um, I'd just like to spend this isn't going to be a long breakdown, but I'd just like to spend a short amount of time going over the return of former WBA Cruiserweight champion Lawrence Okolie, and that will be over in Poland this Friday against Lukasz Rozanski, and this will be for WBC Bridgerweight Championship. Which is basically, for those who don't know, a new kind of weight class that the WBC have made that's between heavyweight and cruiserweight. Um, so, yeah, it'll be for that title. And it's kind of a strange career position for Lawrence Okolie because it seemed like he had it all in a sense. I mean, if you'd gone back, say, 3 years or so ago, when he was just breaking in. He was coming off some very good, kind of decently exciting knockout wins over Nikodem Jastrzewski and Krzysztof Glowacki to win the title. Um, and it seemed like all his career prospects were ahead of him. But over the past few years, and especially in his last fight against Chris Smith and the fight before that against David Light, he's had some absolutely atrocious showings, which has lost him a lot of his fan base and a lot of the kind of credibility. Um, so I think that's part of the reason why he's going over to Poland. I think, Ben Shalom said, you know, there's not really much else we can do for you in that sense. Um, until you've got well, you need to show that you've got something to show for it again. And I think this is a good opponent to do that against, but it's also an opponent that could cause him to go back into that shelling up kind of style. But I think it's quite a smart move by Ben Shalom this to let him have this fight over in Poland against Rozanski, because the idea is, if people keep him out of sight, out of mind, then if it's a bad performance, no one's really going to be talking about it. If it's a good performance, then it's going to pick up some traction. So definitely something that's been thought about, I believe. So yeah. So yeah, like I was saying, he definitely kind of had a point in his career where he was looking good. It seemed to be kind of after that Matty Askin fight, he started finding his style a bit more and finding, because he's got quite good power. He was finding his style and he was able to utilize his power, but he kind of settled back into old habits in the past few fights. And I thought that joining Crunk would help him, but it didn't really seem to be the case against Chris Smith, which I think most people expected him to win, including me. So let's talk a bit about Lukasz Rozanski. Rozanski's coming off a win against Alan Babic, who was kind of known as a slugger on the domestic scene. So he stopped Alan Babic inside the round, and prior to that, stopped Artis Bilka inside the round. So he's got quite a notorious reputation over in Poland. So he's going to have the fan base, obviously, and he's going to have, the advantage. Say if it does go to the judges, then they're probably going to have a bit more favouring on him, even though it's not too bad in Poland. And he's got 15 wins, 15-0, and he's got 14 of those by knockout, which is fairly impressive. Well, I say fairly impressive, it's very impressive. But he is the shorter man and he's the older man. But he is going to have an advantage in being the man who's fought at that higher weight already. So he'll be the guy that's coming down a bit. Well, I say coming down a bit. He's already fought at Bridgerweight before, so he'll have that advantage. And Okolie's obviously coming up. This is his fight coming up. I guess another factor to consider. I'm not too sure. I've not checked, but has Okolie ever fought out of the UK before? And if not. I mean, obviously he did as an amateur, but as a pro, and how much of that is going to play a factor? Because while it can still play a factor in the amateurs, you've got to remember that in the pros, of course, if you're the main event on the foreign card, there's going to be a lot more pressure on you, and maybe that's something that could be interesting about this fight. But Rozanski is getting fairly old, and I think there are more paths for victory for Lawrence. I see a path for victory for Rozanski catching Lawrence early, but I would be fairly surprised if that happened. Maybe the situation gets to Lawrence. You never know. Maybe his resistance isn't there. We don't know these things. How much the weight will play a factor in this fight. But like I said, I see more ways for victory for Lawrence. As for whether this is going to be exciting or not, I think the promoters have already made their answer, or at least Ben Shalom at least. You know, like I was saying, out of sight, out of mind. And I don't think they're expecting this to be exciting. I think if this is exciting, it'll be down to Rozanski because he is a pretty exciting fighter. But we've seen Lawrence fight exciting fighters before, like David Light, and absolutely stink the place out. So I wouldn't be surprised in that. And I think that's the more likely outcome. So, how do I see this going? Well, I could see Lawrence stinking out the place and getting a decision. Um, I could see Lawrence potentially stopping Rozanski. We've never really seen Rozanski in trouble before, but I think Lawrence has underrated power when he does open up a bit. So it will be interesting to see how much he's learned from that Chris Smith loss, because I think his unwillingness to open up and all the holding was actually in his detriment in the end, especially with the second knockdown, which was somewhat contentious, but he didn't help himself because of the holding on. So it'll be interesting to see what he's learnt from that, and how he goes to try and make improvements for this fight coming up. But I'm gonna say Lawrence by decision. I think Rozanski's going to come out of the gates early, and Lawrence is going to be concerned about that, and he's going to resort to his kind of get it done at any cost game plan, let's say. So I see Lawrence getting out of kind of a hairy moment early, and yeah, making it a decision. So that's my predictions for these fights. This fight, let me know what you think, and yeah, enjoy the fight on Friday. I've got some more videos coming out in a few days regarding other fights and also a new kind of type of content I want to explore. So keep tuned for that, and thank you for watching.